Hey guys, my name is Matimeo, and welcome to another episode of Sunday Mailbox. This is a video series where you, the viewer, can submit your gaming or Battlefield-related questions, and then I will give my humble opinion on them. To get the format out of the way real quick, if you would like to submit your own question that could be featured in an upcoming episode, you can do so by leaving a comment down below, or by sending me a Facebook and Twitter message. The first question for the day comes from Jesse, and it is, are you disappointed about the Fallout graphics that were seen in the recent trailer? I would be lying to you if I said I wasn't disappointed by the graphics that they revealed. We have games that have recently come out like Witcher and Grand Theft Auto that have really pushed the graphical fidelity. They have pushed the limits of what we can be doing on the consoles and on PC. It makes you question, why can't Bethesda bring their games to that same level? That said though, it didn't look terrible. Some people on the internet, I realize that it is the internet and people can be a little bit ridiculous, they made this seem like it was the worst thing ever. I don't know about you, but I don't play Bethesda games, especially Fallout, for the graphics. You do it for the world, you do it for the exploration, you do it for the quest, and not necessarily for the graphics. And while I still think it's something that we can criticize them for, graphics do make a part of the game. I know a lot of people will go out and say, oh, graphics don't mean anything. They do. Like, graphics add to the atmosphere. It really adds to the experience. Like, it's something that you can criticize, but I don't think that they're as terrible as people are making it out to be, and I don't think it's going to have a negative impact on the game. One thing I did like though, and something that was really refreshing, is that it doesn't look like Bethesda is trying to deceive us with graphics that they're not going to be able to deliver on. For all the amazing things that I love about Witcher, and even though it is one of the best looking games out on the market, it doesn't look as good as that E3 trailer that they released like a year ago, or maybe it's been 2 years now. The first time you watched that trailer, it was mind-blowing. You thought to yourself, there's no way they're going to be able to make the game look as good as this is. Clearly, they weren't able to deliver on it. It still looks amazing. The game is one of the best out there on the market. People have been giving it 10 out of 10s. It still has amazing graphics, but it doesn't live up to that hype. It doesn't live up to that expectation. This has been a very annoying trend in the game industry recently. They release an amazing trailer. Watch Dogs is probably the best example of this. The game goes live a year later, and we're left wondering, where did all of these amazing graphics go? Like, what the hell happened? Of course, they had to downgrade it. It always happens. And so what I'm hoping is that Bethesda has given us a true representation of what we can be expecting in Fallout 4. Who knows, maybe it'll look even worse than what they've delivered on, or what we've seen in this reveal trailer. But my hope is that they've taken the route that this is what we're going to be getting, this is the graphics that we can expect, and in my eyes, that is a good thing. Should we criticize them on the graphics that we saw? Absolutely. Graphics matter, they add to the world, they add to the immersion. But once again, this is a Fallout game. I'm very excited. I can't wait to learn more about it. And while I'm not going to pre-order, and hopefully you guys aren't going to pre-order, my hope is that Bethesda is being honest with what this game is going to look like, and they're not trying to manipulate us like a lot of other games out there. And so for me personally, that has been very refreshing. The next question comes from Nathan, and it is, do you think the shotguns are overpowered since the new patch in Battlefield 4? What are your thoughts? This has been something that I've been thinking about over the last week because it's a little worrisome. When I first learned about all of the amazing changes that happened to the shotguns, I assumed that all of the other close encounter weapons, high rate of fire assault rifles, the PDWs, and even to some extent the carbines, were going to become completely obsolete in close encounter combat. I thought shotguns were going to be king. And while to some extent shotguns should have the advantage when you're 4 feet away, because what DICE has done to improve upon all of them, they can still dominate 25, 30 meters out if you know what you're doing. If you're using the full choke on any of the pump action shotguns and you line it up, you can draw people one shot no problem at those distances. It's insane how powerful they are. And so the real question is, did they make them too good? Are the shotguns blatantly overpowered and there's just no reason whatsoever to use the other weapons in the game in those circumstances? At least for this last week, and I've tried out a wide variety of guns, I would say that they're in a good state, but I would not be opposed if they maybe buffed some of the other weapons to put them more in line with the shotguns and didn't just flat out go back in and give the shotguns the old Nerf bats. Right now, PDWs are competitive to some extent. If you're playing aggressively and you're playing on maps that can take advantage of these weapons, like Flood Zone or a TDM map, you can still do really well. The thing with the shotguns right now is that, yes, they have a lot of killing potential, but you do need to be on your game. If you're using a pump action shotgun, if you miss that first shot and you're going against a PDW, you're probably not going to be able to come out of that firefight alive. The strength about the PDW is that it does a little bit better at a medium distance. Not much better, but it also gives you more room for air simply because you have a higher rate of fire. You can kind of spray down range or hit fire down, and you're going to have a lot more room for air compared to a pump action shotgun. So that is the one advantage. That said though, if you do know what you're doing and you're on your game with one of these shotguns, I feel like they're better than someone who is running around with a PDW. This might just be me, maybe you guys will completely disagree, but at least over this last week, that's kind of the general impression that I've got from not only going against shotgun users while using a PDW, and also just simply using a shotgun on the battlefield. This doesn't mean that I think that they should get flat out nerfed, because in the grand scheme of things, I feel like they're relatively well balanced. When we compare it to the high rate of fire assault rifles like machine guns, the other class of guns in the game, I think that they have their place and they are relatively well balanced, but our issue lies with the weaknesses of the PDWs. And so instead of just nerfing the shotguns, now that they finally have their time in the sun, maybe we should upgrade the PDWs instead. Let's bring them in line with the other weapons. A few Sunday mailboxes ago, we talked about maybe bringing up the maximum damage of the PDWs to 25, so they have that 4-shot killing potential, at least up close. We wouldn't want them to dominate at medium to long range, but at least for those close encounter combat, have more strength there, and that may be enough to bring them in line with the other weapons and make them much more viable. And so overall, yes, shotguns are fantastic. Clearly, you see a lot more people using them. We're probably going to have to give it a couple more weeks to get a true understanding of the overall balance, but at least right now, I think that they are in a good state, and so instead of just flat out nerfing them, maybe we should elevate some of the weaker guns in the game. That's just my 2 cents though. The next question comes from Clip, and it is, why do you think that DICE zeroed out all of the bolt action rifles to 100 meters? I honestly have no idea why DICE decided to zero out all of the bolt action rifles. I thought about it for a good while, and the only thing I could think of was maybe because of the head glitch nerf. They wanted to make sure that you couldn't head glitch behind things, and that was one way that they could combat it. But that still doesn't even make any sense. Like, maybe I'm not looking at it in the right light, but I don't understand why they made these changes. This seems to have been a theme in the most recent patch. They really nerfed and changed a lot of things in the game that now require people to relearn how to use these things. The SRAW is an amazing example, the bolt action rifles, flying around in the jets, using even your favorite guns in the game, because everything has been touched and tweaked a little bit here and there. It's not necessarily a new game entirely, but some aspects of it, it really requires you to relearn some things. For me personally, this hasn't had that big of a negative impact on my gameplay. Because I can play all the time, I've been able to just grind it out, get adjusted once again. But for someone who can only play a couple hours every week, this has to be really annoying. Just think for a second, if you are someone who has finally been able to master a bolt action rifle, you are finally comfortable with its travel speed, its bullet drop, and all that stuff. You know where to aim at someone's head, you know, at the distance that they are. Now DICE goes in and just completely throws that out the window because you can't zero out your bolt action rifle to 0 anymore. It's always at 100. That's gonna suck. Sure, it's not a gigantic difference. I'm sure you're gonna be able to get acclimated to it, but if you're someone who can only play a couple hours every week, this is gonna mean you're gonna have to spend probably another month getting used to these changes, and that sucks. I have a feeling that this has been one of the largest critiques of the spring patch, because while I think overall the patch has been good, it's added in some nice qualities, it really makes you scratch your head for why they decided to make players completely relearn weapons and gadgets that they've grown acclimated to. The SRAW and the bolt action rifles are a great example. It just doesn't make any sense. And so I think for many people out there, they're going to be able to get used to this new bolt action rifle functionality. It really sucks for the person out there that may not have as much time as someone like me can spend on the battlefield, and for them, my heart goes out to you. The next question is, what if there was an underground tunnel system connected to the water temple on the new community map in Battlefield 4? You would have to breach it open with C4 to make your way in. That is a fantastic idea. I've always been a fan of using the environment to your advantage, and secret tunnels has been something that I've always fantasized about in first-person shooters. I loved it back in Battlefield 3. The Aftermath DLC, if you guys don't remember, there were a few sections on the map where if you knew where they were, you could blow up these red barrels and all of a sudden this nice little room would open up for you. It was an amazing way if you were having a hard time getting onto an objective, the enemy was doing a good time or a good job of locking it down, you could then use this secret passageway to hopefully get a nice little flank off and then take the objective for your team. It's amazing. And so the idea of having this on the community map where you bring an M320 or C4 to blow up one of these secret passageways sounds awesome in my eyes. Like I would be all for that. Of course, they would need to balance it out. They would need to balance the map around or that one objective to make sure that there isn't too many flanking routes. But yeah, I love the concept of having secret passageways. I love the idea of using destruction to your advantage and getting the flank off. And if they implement it correctly, I am 100% on board. But yeah, guys, that is about it for today's Sunday Mailbox. I hope you enjoyed. As always, if you would like to submit your own question that could be featured in an upcoming episode, you can do so by leaving a comment down below or by sending me a Facebook and Twitter message. But until tomorrow, guys, have a good one and take it easy.